YouTube, Brian Phillips. We're gonna open a new box right here. It's long, but distinguished. Welcome to Brian Phillips RC. We unbox them, we build them, we set them up on our radio system, and you can follow along. What do we have here? It's all new from E-flite, kind of. You already know what it is. You saw the thumbnail. It's the V1200. You got the box backward, Brian. The V1200 V2, new livery, improved landing gear, actually visible. We'll see how it works.
Didn't know we had an invisible one.
Well, the one that we had before was blue and white, and it disappeared in the sky. So let's see what we've got here. It is 1,204 millimeters of wingspan. It's a little bit longer than some planes in that it's 1,091 millimeters long. It's very fast. I think they're saying 140 plus miles an hour on 6S, 3,200 to 7,000 milliamp hour batteries. And that is pretty incredible. You can also use 4S, 3,200 through 5,000s. But at any rate, they call us the skill level 2, and I'm just gonna tell you right now, it'd be on the higher end of skill level 2, in my opinion. Skill level 2 is a catch-all to a certain extent for this type of plane. A bind and fly configuration are usually relatively easy to fly, but not all of them. And that being said, that's because they have been well refined in the E-flite lineup, okay? This also has AS3X Plus, because it's built in, which is nice. And this is upside down for us, probably won't be for you. Yeah. But this is a early release, so we have a product sample that has been shipped back out so they can deliver retail products when they show up for you guys watching the videos at home. Okay, so some of the things that we already know about the original are gonna be true. I'll try to point those things out when we see them. I can definitely see they have a dark bottom on the plane, and we're gonna see if that holds true all the way down the length of the fuse. I was just gonna look real quick. Motor is 4 through 6S compatible. They don't even say what it is here. We'll see if we see it in the manual or something, but it's 6 digital metal gear servos with ball links. I just noticed that. And they did mention that they had improved the landing gear. If you guys didn't already know this, there were some people that had trouble with the original main landing gears. Were a little bit weak, in my opinion, too. A tendency to want to bend back a little bit. So we'll see if it's improved. If it's improved enough for a guy like me. That's a different story, by the way. You might be a better pilot than I am, but one way or another, we will show it the way it is and tell the full truth. Nothing but the truth, so help us God here on Brian Phillips RC. That's what we do. Some Velcro, some bolts. Cool. Looks like a couple of extras. We have a carbon fiber rod. I believe this rod goes to the tail, if I remember right. You can tell it's carbon fiber because it makes kind of a metallic sound when it hits, which is kind of cool. This is still taped on my side. So we're gonna get on with the unbox portion of the Unbox build radio setup here on Brian Phillips RC. If you guys ever have questions, leave them in the comments below. We'll do our best to help you out. We'll show it how we see it. Okay, so the tail is red on the top and dark gray on the bottom. Pinch hinge, looks like it's reinforced maybe with a little bit of tape. It's hard to tell because of the way they jigged and painted this, but it's got a thick amount of, it's got a lot of material there. Some of the pinch hinge we see are really pinch tight. This also very dense. Very strong here. We've got this receiver for the wing joiner connecting rod, whatever you want to call that. But then out here it gets a little bit weaker, especially in this point where it's the thinnest. Ball links, metallic. That's pretty cool. Excuse me, huge control horn adapters. Make a really big purchase onto what is a very resilient elevator. And I must say, this is an incredibly fast plane, so you'll want to do inspections on your plane before you go up. Again, I am exercising this. This is weird for being a sample. That elevator barely felt like it was gonna move. It's like it wasn't exercised. Normally, the product samples are used quite a bit by the time we get them. All right, so pulling this out. The wing has a quick disconnect, big plastic saddle area here. 1, 2, 3 servos. Of course, that's gonna drive the inboard flaps and then the outboard ailerons, which is good. Nice gear door, look like a really positive seat into the pocket, which is good. Ball links here, octagonal drives for adjustment, which is nice. Black, which kind of blends in nicely as opposed to having a white that would stand out like a sore thumb. And then also the decals are wrapped in such a way that they wrap the front of the leading edge of the wing. Looks like this is a clear, like a transparent overlay, and some of our foam got in there, which is unfortunate. I may have just driven it in there a little bit, but that's gonna help when you go by so it doesn't go zzz, because it will if you pick up an edge. And by the way, these little mold relief bumps, there's a limited amount of those. Very smooth wing, beautiful trim livery, but it looks like they jigged and painted the bottom. Yeah, that's painted. And perfect match on the decal color, or near perfect within, you know, just a tiny, tiny little bit of difference. The foam match to the plastic is worse than the paint to the decals, which is unusual. Silver here, Horizon Hobby, very good clear. You can't see it, but it's all clear. It's not like an individual H and an O, it's all one big decal. And then there's some sort of serviceability here, which of course would be the front side of the landing gear. So the design of the landing gear, we'll see how that works, if it's gonna be better or not. Now notice how small this package is. One piece wing design, which is nice. You don't have a wing joiner. It's all integral and it's very sturdy, very stout, high density foam, but still EPO. But look at that, guys. Barely twists. Now, to make that type of tension on a wing in flight, you know, like, just don't really get yourself in those type of circumstances. You're gonna get this type of load and that type of load, but you're not gonna get this torsion type of load. And that's why I like to show it that way. Looks pretty good though. So in terms of the unbox, there's nothing on the back side here. So we'll just pull out these plugs. Really easy unbox. Should be an easy build, very low piece count, which is the way we like them here on Brian Phillips RC, partly because we've done hundreds of planes and aircraft in general. Sometimes they're helicopters, sometimes they're planes. Sometimes they're VTOLs, vertical takeoff or landing. Look at that tail wheel. Is it soft?
A little bit. That's
Squish
a little
it.
rubbery.
Really? Sweet. Look how slender it is.
Yeah.
It's so cool. So you can get a feel for the size. And that's what I was talking about that was under that decal, is this foam. It must have been just chattering around in the packaging. But just beautiful finish on this. You hear the noise?
Yeah.
That's so cool. You can feel the millings. And it's got a really cool, like, it's all metal,
Did
of
the
course.
other V1 have that?
I do think it might have, but I can't remember for sure.
Yeah.
That being said, ball links on the elevator. And then of course, this is gonna receive the horizontal stabilizer. Really sturdy, really stout body on this. Of course, it is incredibly sleek, which is really cool. And of course, that's gonna help get us the high speed that we expect. Okay, so just packing all this back in. Now here on Brian Phillips RC, we show start to finish so that you guys can follow along and do all the steps we do. Now, there are gonna be times when I go into detail that you guys already understand as more efficient aficionados. But when you're brand new, you don't know what you don't know. This is not a beginner plane. I don't care what they tell you at the factory. This is an incredibly difficult to take off plane compared to others because it has insane amounts of P factor. This is the type of plane that will take off and you'll give it throttle. And if you're new, the tendency is to punch the throttle and you will go and it will kill itself. So if you're brand new to the hobby and you're thinking this would be a great beginner plane, you'd be thinking wrong. We will help you avoid failure because on our channel, on Brian Phillips RC, one of our principal tasks is to help prevent one and dones. And the primary way we do that is not selling you B-2 bombers to begin with, because that'd be a terrible choice.
Yeah.
Also, really fast planes, that would be another potentially terrible choice. Now, that being said, this may be easier to fly with the ESRX Plus, but look out there into the windsock.
Yes.
You notice it's quite windy today. Interestingly enough about a plane like this is that it will actually do okay in wind because the relative speed of the plane to the wind, which is a moving volume of air, also known as a fluid, is usually what dictates whether or not a plane is going to do okay in wind. Now, that being said, because they fly fast, having a fast plane that has laminar wind that's blowing down a runway is really, it's indifferent. It just makes it land slower. And so it can actually improve your circumstances. Same with the jet. And jets tend to fly fast and they stall when you get too slow. So we may actually try to fare this high wind condition. Now, that being said, dead calm conditions are always the easiest to fly in, but wind that's down the runway as opposed to crosswind or really severe steep angles would be something to avoid if you're newer in the hobby. So second, third plane, I don't think that that would be a huge issue for the average Joe, but just keep in mind the P factor is palpable. And no, P does not stand for palpable, although it would make sense.
Maybe not second plane.
Second plane, third plane? Yeah, it'd be pushing it.
Yeah.
Build style, this is gonna be easy.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Okay, so I just did a little preventative maintenance on my Robert plane stand today while the family was getting the kitchen cleaned up. And so we're gonna use this thing. If you guys don't have a plane stand or China glue or CA or something that you see us use on this channel, check out our website, brianphillipsrc.com, and you can find links to different supplies that we use on a routine basis. There's not a lot of tools you need to put together these planes, aside from a handful of different nut drivers and hex drivers, maybe a screwdriver here and there. We'll show you what we've got, but most people that work with their hands already have most of the stuff, okay? That being said, brianphillipsrc.com or bprc.me is also a resource that you can use to compare and contrast different aircraft that you've seen us do in the past, and it's gonna make it really easy for you to make decisions about what might make sense to you. Now, how's that gonna work? You're gonna go to the channel, you're gonna go to brianphillipsrc.com or bprc.me. You're gonna find this particular plane and you're gonna look at the playlist and then you're gonna say, do I like that plane or do I want to find something like the Electro Streak or something like the Crescendo or something like the Draco or this airliner or whatever it happens to be. Even competitive brands are there so you can find exactly what you want. It's a one-stop shop for what we've touched. And then you can see if you like it. And if you like it, buy it from the links that are right next to the playlist that takes you right back to YouTube. Or you can go to YouTube, watch the video, and see if you like that plane. Check out the links in the video description below. Support Brian Phillips RC. Okay, continue with the build. We're gonna slide the wings in here, pretty easy process. Of course, these ball links make it super easy to build because all we have to do is just make sure we're on the right side with our controls so that we don't stick it in with the bottom side up. Because this is so slender, you could probably cram it in there wrong. Okay, so just be careful. This passes through and then it looks like there's a singular screw that passes through. And the weird thing is I don't see those screws in our bag, but we'll find out. There's a hole I'm passing through with this rod. You could actually push your wing in first if you prefer, okay? So that goes down there and then look at this elevator rod on both sides, okay? So that's a little bit unique to this plane. Many times we don't have a rod on both sides. We'd have a connection point that passes through the wing and it would connect the left and the right side. In fact, they have machined this body to have a pass through so that you can do that very thing. They must have opted for a design where each of the respective elevators has a rod connected straight back, okay? Now that doesn't mean there's two elevator servos, but it does mean that there's two linkages. I'm assuming it's still one servo. We'll check that here in a little bit. So we'll just slide that on, slide this in, watch the fitment. Guys, when you buy a quality plane, the fitment is better. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you this right now. Most of the E-flite products we do have some of the best fitment that we get in the market, okay? Now, there are very expensive models that have good fitment too, and then there's very expensive models that have poor fitment. It just depends on the model, okay? Now, you'll notice I didn't connect these yet because I need to physically screw the wings in. Perfect fit, by the way. And so far, so good. Very beautiful looking. And this thin tail, don't worry about the strength because look how strong this is, guys. I'm a strong guy. I could break it, but I can't really get it to bend, which is unusual. Now, what does that mean? Alternatively, the trade-off is higher density means more weight per size, okay? It also means more strength per size. There's gonna be some, rods and things in here that help strengthen this body. But the other thing to keep in mind is it also is gonna be less resilient if you were to plop it in for a rough landing. It's more likely to crack, okay? We had that, case in point, Crescendo Evo compared to Concendo Advanced, a little bit softer foam. Concendo Advanced to the original Concendo, which was like wiggly as all get out. We had to pretty much brace our own tails to keep the tail from flopping around like a fish. But it was also a 2S platform, and we made our way up to like 3 or 4S, I think. Or was it just 2 or 3? Either way.
3 for sure.
Beautiful plane. Love the Concendo. More to come on that soon. Okay, so we're gonna open this bag and see what we've got for screws. Here on Brian Phillips RC, we like to share as much information as we can in a reasonably time frame type video, AKA 3.5 hours long. If you're brand new to the channel and you don't understand what I'm talking about, just wait longer. We're gonna teach you a lot, but some of the stuff you might know. So we do our best to strike the balance between overwhelming you with useless information and underwhelming you with non-answers, okay? Again, that's where the value really comes in from brianphillipsrc.com. You can check out other builds that we've done that are similar. Now, keep in mind, this is a bind and fly plane, so you don't have to have a ton of programming, but we're gonna show you on the NX8 Plus exactly how to do it. So Phillips screw, looks pretty simple. Just gonna grab this Tool Shop Guaranteed for Life to Fail screwdriver. Very simple, very basic. We're gonna lay this into the hole and we're gonna turn it. Simple, all right? Anybody flying this plane, I would assume, can handle the assembly without too much trouble. If you can't handle the assembly on this, you probably should not fly this plane. Start with something a little bit easier, okay? I'm gonna go to a different screwdriver. 3mm Phillips. Nope, not a very good fit. How about 4? This would be like a 1.5. That Tool Shop Guaranteed for Fail. Guaranteed for Life to Fail screwdriver.
It failed you?
No, it just didn't have the right purchase on that Phillips screw, so I didn't like the way it drove. There is no affiliation between Phillips screws and Brian Phillips. Just
yeah, I thought I was going to get some royalties.
Royalty
or something
checks.
When I
Sorry to let you
that.
down. Sorry to let you down. Okay, so now the wing needs to stick on here, and then we're going to show you inside the fuse. We haven't even looked inside there to see the ESC and all that stuff. You know what's beautiful about this? You don't even need to open the canopy. There's going to be 4 screws. 2 long, 2 short. Where do the long ones go, camera crew?
They'd be in the back.
Why?
Because the foam is thicker.
Thank you. Okay, so watch this. Drop straight in. It doesn't rock in like some planes. Just make sure that you have good purchase on your cables before you cram it, because you can sometimes cram them and cause problems. So now look at the length difference. Long, short. Short is gonna go up front because that's the length of the screws. And then long is gonna go in the back. If you're brand new to this, you don't do a lot of building, put them in one at a time. Don't torque them down. Torque them at the end. I'm gonna go to 5mm on this one. A little bit bigger drive. Oh yeah, that's perfect size. That'd be like a number 2 Phillips. Some guy got us these screwdrivers, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah, it was like a gift from one of our followers. He saw me struggling with whatever crap I was using that day, and he decided he would send it. And if you're anything like me, I have tools in 6 different places on our property, and soon to be more like 9 or 10. Yeah, because I don't like chasing tools. So this is just my tools for the kitchen.
Yeah, this is just the kitchen.
I have tools in my master bathroom.
Yes.
I do. If you think I'm lying, I can show you sometime.
No, he's not.
Yeah, but guys, it's just like this. If you work with your hands, if you work on machines or you're a mechanic, the least I hate chasing tools. Even though I have way nicer tools other places, I don't like chasing.
Yeah,
them.
you probably don't even use your.
These are actually pretty nice tools.
I think
they've been good screwdrivers.
Yeah, they have. They came in a kit. All
Yeah.
of those Nuo fan.
Yeah, which is like the revolving door of Chinese branding.
But they're on our supplies. If you want a similar kit,
set,
it might be a different.
You won't be able to get this amazing
Chinese
holster here. Yeah, that's right. I made that myself.
To buy an e-bike and then save all your garbage.
Yes, buy an e-bike, save the garbage. That's the way you do it on Brian Phillips RC. But all joking aside, these screws have a lot of purchase. You got to turn a lot of times, and there is a telltale sign when you can start seeing a pucker in the foam. You know you're tight. Okay. Some are better than others where they will cinch down and the plastic holds to another piece of plastic and then you don't ever really compress the foam much. Other times you're compressing the foam and it's just pulling it through with like a big face of plastic, like what's happening here. And you'll notice that there is a little bit of a tuck here. You feel that? a low point.
Yeah, I see that, yes.
It's quite fantastical, actually. Look how much it's tucked. See? Now, if you go too crazy on them, you can actually break stuff. I generally don't. So, there you have it. It's basically built.
Yeah.
The only thing that's not built is the elevator linkages aren't attached. Why are we not attaching them? The answer is because we don't know the exact position. Oh, by the way, the maintenance I was doing on this today was these things were popping off easy, so I put some more electrical tape. As the foam stretches out, that helps to keep them in place. Now you know. Okay, helpful tips and tricks from Blindfolds RC. We try to keep it helpful for people that are new. So again, I can't refresh your memory enough. This is a very fast plane. This is a number 2 skill level, okay? I don't know how this comes off. I think it comes off magnetically. Oh, good Lord. Did you guys see how hard that was mounted?
Quite the magnet.
You remember the buzzing thing I was talking about earlier?
Yes.
You can stay there.
You're gonna make it buzz?
I'm gonna make it buzz.
Okay.
I'm gonna give this plane a buzz. So how am I gonna do that, camera crew?
With a little tape tail so that you can
Yep, they used to put these on these models and evidently people didn't like them. So I'm gonna put them on there anyway. You know why?
You can do it to your own.
I did like it. Why do I like it?
Because it makes it way easier to canopy off.
When you got one hand out there in the field, you got your transmitter in one hand or whatever. So I'm just gonna take off about like 3 or 4 inches of tape. This of course is a personal preference item. Now you'll see these are labeled plus and not, okay? So I'm gonna try not to go on top of them, but we'll actually go right above them. And why do I not want to go on the magnet? Because if you go on top of the magnet, you might actually undermine the performance of the magnet. You want it to be as tight as possible, or at least as tight as factory specified, okay? So now, that's way longer than I need because I hadn't thought about avoiding that. And so now I'm just gonna work this to a seam. I'm gonna seam it up here, and then I'm gonna walk it back down so I can keep it nice and tight. And then I don't wanna get onto that dark black section or gray or whatever color you wanna call that. I'm just gonna cut it short. And yes, it's clear and it's invisible and you won't even notice it. And if I did my job right, it won't buzz. But that's to see how it stops. Push it down. So there are opposing magnets. And that's why it does that. Now, that being said, I've never had a canopy on one of these come off, have I?
No.
But we used to have, my friend Esteban used to have a plane and the canopy came off all the time. We had a piece of Velcro we put around the fuse. It was an E-flite plane. It was a weird E-flite plane I never had. And it looked a lot like this, but big. And I can't remember what the heck it was called. Yeah,
I don't even remember.
We used to fly it all the time. We had a good time flying it because it was just one of those planes. We didn't care if we destroyed it.
Is that the one you put all the obnoxious lights on?
Yes.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, it's the ugliest thing ever.
It was kind of ugly.
And so anyway, and by the way, this is a fast plane. It is purpose designed. So I'm not a huge fan of the turtle deck or whatever. What do we call this? The
turtle shell?
Turtle? No, there's like another word for it. But anyway, I usually like a canopy that's more of like a bubble top. And so even though that's true, when you see this plane fly, you'll quickly forget about any of your concerns. Because this is what I would call a hot liner or a warm liner. It's depending on how picky you are, because a hot liner would be even heavier than this and it'd be incredibly fast. This is incredibly fast. Look at this, guys. I can barely pull it up. Like, I don't even know, that might not be strong enough. I might have to use 2 hands, but at least I got something to start it with.
Yeah.
Okay. That being said, let's look inside here now. So I'm gonna flip this thing down so we might be able to get a view in here. So we can see the receiver. It's an AR637 TA plus, okay? Then we have a gigantic ESC, which is off of its own little piece of Velcro that's supposed to be up here. So I'm gonna actually slide that back. That's an Avian SPMXAE1100 Smart ESC. I'm gonna slide this forward, but my antenna is tangled up in my wires, which is totally unacceptable. I'm gonna undo that crap. Okay, so that's undone. Protect the last 28 millimeters of these cables like it matters, because it does, okay? I'm hoping that yours doesn't pop out like that, but if it does, you'll understand because it happened to mine. I'm pressing it down to get it adhered, and then this antenna, I want to go in and around, but I don't want it to get onto the heat sink, okay? Then we have this obnoxious safety warning. Guys, if you energize a plane that has a prop on it, and you don't verify that it's safe and you cut your arm up or your hand or your chest or your face, it's gonna make for a bad day. So don't do that thing. Be super careful. There's really two safety issues in this hobby. And I know you're probably thinking there's 4,000 things that can go wrong. Sure there are, but really what it boils down to is prop safety and battery safety. Be as safe as you can. Smart batteries really help with battery safety, and throttle cut helps a lot with prop safety. This is in the nanny state here. I don't care if you guys want to be dangerous, that's fine, but I just don't want to propagate bad ideas. NX8 Plus. That's definitely not a bad idea. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up the radio setup for this plane. Because it's gone so dang smooth, we're almost done. There's also a couple of pieces of Velcro in here. I don't know if yours will come with one or if it's gonna come with more. Ours happened to come with 3, might have been a product sample thing. And then of course we'll pop out the manual, which is one of the strong points when working with an E-flite product, is that there's usually a really good manual. Now, if you ever need a manual for a plane and you're on brianphillipsrc.com or you're watching a Brian Phillips RC video, then all you need to do is just go to the plane, the video, or the plane, and pretend like you're gonna buy it. Follow the link, go like you're gonna buy it, and scroll down on the plane that you're looking at. And then there's supporting documents. It'll say additional parts, optional parts, upgrade parts, and then
replacement parts.
Yep, there you go.
Yep.
That's what I was trying to say. And then you can find the manual. So if you're ever trying to find that, it's right there, okay? Now, this has an IC5 connector on it, so that's a big connection. And then what's this extra wire here? Oh, save select bind lead. I don't need the bind lead on there. I'm gonna take that off. We'll save it for another project because we don't need to bind this way. We can use the bind button right there. Okay, so we can press that when we're ready, but we'll be up in extension cords. So that's always good. We're almost out of those.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing too is I like to fly this plane. We're gonna start the charger. I like to fly this plane on 5006S. Okay, now you could use 4000 or you could use 3200 or you could use a 7000. The 7000s are just huge, gigantic. Okay, that's also a 30C pack. I would rather stick with 50C because this thing is so fast and powerful and demanding. So I'm gonna turn on the S1200 and I'm gonna show you how hard it is. We were talking about battery safety earlier. One of the reasons why these batteries are so safe is because they have a smart management circuit or battery management circuit that's built in, and it'll keep everything balanced, okay? Also, when you plug them in, you don't have to set up the charger. It's already set up. You set it up once for like how fast you want it to discharge, and then you plug it in and it initiates the smart charge and it takes care of itself. And if there's a problem, which interestingly enough, we did have one the other day, we had to update the firmware on the battery, and it's just, you update the firmware, it just does it. I don't even know how it knows, but it evidently knows, okay? So with that being said, if you are brand new to Brian Phillips RC and you're trying to figure this out, we're gonna try to help you out. All right, so we're gonna help you out by showing you how to do a shelf liner trick next, which is super easy. This is shelf liner. You may have seen shelf liner that looks a little bit more like that stuff with the little dots on it, okay? This is what we like to use now because it's solid, and that way when you put a little bit of glue or adhesive, it doesn't soak through onto your battery pack, which is really nice. Now, of course, the factory would like you to just put Velcro all over your packs, but I don't like putting Velcro all over my packs. I find it to be very annoying to have Velcro in the wrong spot every time I go to use the Velcro on a pack. Now, sometimes you get lucky and it's in the same spot. Sometimes you get lucky and you didn't totally cover up all the useful information. But in my experience, most of the time, you do both of those things. Okay, so how are we going to make our battery stay without putting Velcro on it? Well, very simple. Very simple. We're gonna put it right there, okay? And how are we gonna do that? We're gonna use the provided Velcro, and we're basically going to cut a chunk of this, and it's gonna go under the battery, and it's gonna sandwich with this Velcro or China glue. China glue, if you don't know, is just like a contact adhesive sort of thing. Okay, so you see how this is smooth? Slides along the counter. Imagine it was inside of on a piece of wood like this, basswood or plywood or whatever it is. And then you put it on here, a little bit of pressure down. I'm not pressing super hard, but it just resists the sliding. Okay, so it works really nice. and yet it comes right off, okay? So super easy process. I like to take the Velcro, whatever I'm gonna use. This is the fuzzy side, which people usually put the fuzzy side on their batteries. So I am going to put the fuzzy side on this in case we would ever have somebody that has a battery that wants to use it that way. Okay, so I'll just stick it like this. And you can even oversize your chunk of shelf liner slightly if you want, and it's that easy. And then you take off the back side of this, just like that. And then you take and you plop this about where you think the battery is going to end up. Now, they've got this FCC warning in there. I'm just gonna go right over the top of that and stuff it down in there. And then we're done. So we can stick this battery in and we can get prepared to plug it in. We're not gonna plug it in though, because that would be potentially unsafe because I don't have this bound and I'm not quite ready with a profile. We're gonna do that next. So all these wires are gonna be a bit of a pain. So what I wanna do is I wanna get my cable out of the way so we don't damage our antenna cables that are stuffed in there. This is a high quality nylon strap. So I'm gonna try to go in like this, vertical first, because I think that's gonna be the easiest way to load this battery. And it might not fit because of the canopy. So let's see how we can do this. Because remember, you can use different size batteries, but you see how I have to kind of hold that out of the way? This lead is short enough that you're not gonna have flexibility on which way you do that. Okay, you can't put the lead this way. And then also you have your linkages and all this for the servos right here. The other thing I noticed is that this, why the heck is there a lead going all the way back here? What is that thing? What the heck are those things doing there? Why is that back here? That is totally bizarre. Look. What the heck is that? Why is that there? Look, there's one that's going into the ESC already. I have no clue what that wire's doing. See, look. I don't understand. Well, I guess we'll find out someday.
Okay.
But for now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this because I wanna show you how you can do it without a tool. And I'm just gonna tie it in a knot because I don't know if I need it, okay? And then once I knot it, then I can slide it up into the nose of the aircraft. And that's gonna keep it from going way up here where it gets up into the motor, but it's also going to get out of our way so that we can manipulate the wires as needed, okay? Now here during the radio setup, we're gonna wanna be able to level the plane. So you can see we've got it on a plane stand, so this is gonna work out really nice. And really the only other big thing we have to do on this model to get it ready to fly is to set up the profile, plug in the battery, and validate that it's safe before we can trust it, okay? We've got the shelf liner in, we've got the battery loaded initially, and once you have all those steps done, you're ready to set up a profile. This is gonna be a short unbox build radio setup.
It is.
If you're brand new to Brian Phillips RC, that is unusual.
Yes.
And I like short unbox build radio setups, but we also don't want to cut any corners. There's one new way to shorten the unbox build radio setup even more on this particular model, and it is to use the pull out of the receiver setup. And but we're not going to do that, okay? Because it's really easy to set up a plane. Now, setting up an airplane is easy, but setting up a helicopter is not so much, or not so fast at least. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna show you the whole process start to finish so you can get the most out of your transmitter, okay? In this case, this happens to be the NX8 Plus. Now we do tons of plug and fly planes as well. This here is a bind and fly, so it's already got the receiver in it. All you need to do is provide your choice of battery, which we're gonna use the 5006S here. Also, I still don't know for sure if that battery is going to fit or not. It looks like this lip might prevent us from using the battery in that vertical orientation.
Yeah.
And so we're going to find out shortly if that's the case. I'll just put that over there. So there's two ways to set up the transmitter. Like I said, you can pull it out of the receiver when you're binding. Ah, there's the motor. 5065 800 kV outrunner, 14 poles. Okay, so we need that later. Smart transmitter file, you can pull it out. It's gonna override what you've got if you do it. Or you can just look at page 5 of the manual and you can focus in on whatever you're using, which in our case is the NX series. So if you need to copy that, you can pause it. Camera crew is gonna take over again on that. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna pull up a brand new profile and make it. So cancel and back, add new model. We're gonna create an acro, Acro is kind of the basic airplane type of profile. Model select is where we just came from. Model type we've already set. Model name, this is where we scroll in the name. It says 8: space, and then it's gonna put Acro. Full disclosure, I use a legacy keyboard. I like that the best. You can use the system setup and change that to whatever type you like. So we're gonna scroll in V1200, 1.2 meters V2, and we'll come right back. All right, so we've got V1200, 1.2 meter V2, which is red and white, okay, as opposed to blue. All right, so aircraft type, this one's easy. We want one aileron and one flap with a normal tail. And then I'm gonna select an image. Well, that's pretty darn close. I don't remember if there's a closer one. Do you?
Yeah, you can pass it.
You talking about this one?
Yeah.
Good enough.
Here on.
Flight mode setup. Okay, so we'll set that to switch D. Now, you don't have to do it this way, but this is the way I prefer to do it. It's easier to do than some other methods. And it also allows you the ability, if you decide to separate out trim between what's gonna be, for me, AS3X, off, and safe. You can separate the trims. I don't usually have to do that. I think there's been just like a handful of planes over the years that we've had to do that too. Okay, so what you do is you highlight that, select it, and then cancel, cancel. It's gonna clear it, and I'm gonna type in the descriptor that's gonna be displayed on screen, AS3X. Remember, this is just a label. It is not actually the setting. We'll show you how to set up the settings a little bit later. Artificial stabilization 3-axis, because we all know that X is the beginning of axis. And then what you'll do is you'll scroll way down to about here, and way down to here, they're safe, and then AS3X, okay? Then she'll talk to you. Then I'm gonna set this one to off. Now, off means that there'll be no artificial 3-axis stabilization. I don't typically actually use off, but I have it set just in case I handed the transmitter to somebody that doesn't like the feel of AS3X. This is a little bit closer to the top, so we'll just stay alive. And there are people that don't like having a stabilizer on. I just don't understand why. Whoops. And then this one's gonna be safe for sensor-assisted flight envelope, okay? So now, if you're brand new to the hobby and you don't know what sensor-assisted flight envelope stands for, safe or sensor-assisted flight envelope actually tells your plane. When you let go of the sticks, it's gonna auto-level the plane. And then when you are employing the sticks and you're using them, it's gonna limit your bank angles. And so it's gonna be your pitch and your roll so that you're limited to how much you can do. And that's gonna help keep you from upsetting the aircraft. Now keep in mind, those are just labels. This is what reads on the display right in about this area when normal flight mode. And then this is the audio event that gets called out corresponding, okay? And channel assign, looks like we have gear on switch A. That'll be fine because there are retracts on this plane, so we'll leave that there. And then aux7 is defaulted to B. I want to unassign that because flaps I am going to use on B, okay? Now also, oops, have to acknowledge my input. The rotary knob is assigned to channel 8. Now, because this is a bind and fly, we don't usually have a master gain setting, so I won't actually be using the rotary knob. So I'm gonna highlight that and inhibit it. And then also, there's thrust reverse more or less on this model, as far as I know. And when we set that up, it's gonna be on one of the unpluggable channels because we have a 6-channel receiver. There's actually a 7th channel technically, but we have not had a need yet to break into the port mapping to actually assign the bind port to a new additional feature. But there are times when 7 channels make sense, AKA a plane that has flaps, retracts, and you want to add crow, for instance. So you need 2 ailerons for that instead of 1. That is one of those areas. Or you want a steerable nose gear correction that's separate from your rudder, because normally your rudder and steerable are tied together, but once you get AS3X Plus, you can amplify the nose correction, and that requires another channel. So long as you have an Avian ESC, you can use that bind port to actually do it, but we just haven't set that up yet, okay? So for now, we're gonna continue going through a more conventional setup here. Flaps will eventually be called out to switch B, that's in another menu. And then aux7, let's set that up to switch G. We'll exercise the switch and acknowledge, okay? Now, why channel 7? Because it's the first unpluggable channel. Could be channel 8, could be channel 9, or channel 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, I believe is what's actually allowed in the serial menu, which we will show a little bit later, okay? So now we can walk back out, we can click, we're gonna scroll down to throttle cut first, we're gonna turn that on to switch H, we're gonna validate that this is at -100, move the stick, it's not moving, good, unlatched, unsafe, out of throttle cut, and you can see it's moving, as well as the rudder a little bit, okay, very good, throttle cut's back on, and tested, very good, happy with that. Now, rates in Expo, this is where we're gonna deviate a little bit from the manual, not unusual, we usually do deviate from this section. They're suggesting 100% with 10 for high rates, and then low rates at 70% Expo, or excuse me, rates at 70 and Expo at 5. Now, I'm not gonna do that because I don't like that type of feel. This is highly subjective, so just understand that I'm not right and you're not wrong. It's just that we all have different preferences. Here's the thing, I've flown hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of planes. I'm not an expert pilot, I'm just an average Joe. Expert pilots want something a little bit different, a little bit more refined to their specific taste, but this is designed to get you out of jail free, okay? If it's too touchy, you can go there. If it's not touchy enough, you can go there. The idea is to get you back to the ground, and then you can make adjustments based on the way it felt, okay? Most people are not gonna change it on the fly because they're literally flying the plane, especially a 3-minute flight time on a 140+ mph plane. You're gonna be flying it fast, okay? Meaning it's gonna go fast. You also notice that I am setting this so that it's all on one, that's all on one channel. So we always tie it to the same switch because at the end of the day, there's 3 axes of control and we wanna have stabilization, excuse me, not stabilization, but rates and Expo impacted on the same switch in my experience. That way you have less dinking around while you're in the air on maiden. Here's the thing you're also gonna find. You almost never have to adjust this. Once you fly, you get used to what it feels like, you're gonna be comfortable with it or you're not gonna set it that way every time, okay? So this is, if it's not touchy enough, you'll go up, or if it's too touchy, you'll go down. And then when you land, you would set your new middle position to whatever you had started from, or maybe some derivative of that, okay? And just one switch then's tied up. Then I can use G for thrust reverse, and I can use H for throttle cut, and I can use B for my flaps, and then I can use C for some additional features if I want, and then D is gonna be tied up with AS3X plus safe. And then of course we've got retracts here on A. The rotary knob's not doing anything, I'm not really doing anything with bind, and I've got a free switch on E, and then trimmer here, 3 individual push buttons and scrollies. Just to be clear, all those things can do stuff, but we rarely do them on this channel because there's really not a reason to do it unless we had like a bomb drop or something like that. We could set that to C, or maybe I set up a loiter mode on a sailplane or something like that, okay? So we're gonna walk out. We're at the point now where we can clear the timer. In fact, let's talk about the timer. The manual actually says here 3.5 minutes of flight for a 6S 5000 recommended. So we can set that. Of course, we're gonna have telemetry to tell us more information as well. And they're suggesting that once you've flown it once, you can adjust from there. So 3.5 minutes, it's a good starting point. Anything over 25%, we want to start the timer and keep it running. Clear is gonna reset it. At 1 minute, I want a voice call out. At 20 seconds, I want nothing. At 10 seconds, I want a voice call out. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At expiration, tone and vibrate with the tone every minute thereafter. Very simple. Throttle cuts on. Timer still starts, to be aware. That does work even when the throttle cuts on. So you can't use that to remember whether or not this is on, okay? So if you're ever in doubt, move over to the monitor. Look there, it says -100. As you move the stick, it stays at -100. That means your throttle cuts on, okay? If you're not sure, check, right? So make sure your switches are in the right position. They're all in the right position, throttle cuts on. Gear is the other thing you wanna watch out for with a plane that has retracts. Because it's on a plane stand, when we bind this, we wanna make sure that we're not gonna have the gear shoot out and damage themselves or damage the plane, okay? So in order to do that, it's pretty simple. You're gonna look where the gear are. You're gonna make sure, hey, are they gonna clear? Also, if there's a tail wheel, check for that. If there's a nose wheel, check for that. A lot of times the nose wheels are where you're gonna run into problems. Jets and things like that are more likely to have the nose wheel. It's gonna pop down on a tricycle configuration, okay? So a couple things to talk about safety-wise. This prop is very powerful. It's strong. This plane If it flies out of my hand, it's gonna go hit that wall. It's gonna make a giant mess. I'm gonna spend a lot of money to fix it, okay? If it goes forward and it hits me and it cuts me, we'll be at the hospital and make a really terrible video. Probably not for YouTube audiences. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna avoid that totally by having the throttle cut on, A, the throttle stick down, B, this thing in proximity away from the prop and in a safe position. I've only had one plane in recent vintage fly off and try to hit my oven.
Am I okay over here?
Maybe. Okay, I'm undoing the Velcro. I gotta get this battery secured a little bit. When you deal with a more powerful, faster plane, you gotta be a little bit more careful. Frankly, it's not gonna be an issue. I'm not worried at all. I'm just trying to teach you guys that are newer in the hobby how we stay safe, because obviously you can see I have 10 fingers and then 10 toes.
They don't want to see your toes.
I haven't lost any.
No, you haven't. No,
you
you haven't.
know. There's lots of people that love toes. See what I just did there? That's dangerous. Why? It's in front of the prop now.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I'm gonna have to hit the bind button. Okay? So once I plug this in, there's a couple ways you can protect yourself. See, my arm is over the plane. Now, back in the olden days, back in like the
1900s?
1900s, people would take the prop off. Go ahead. If you're that unsure of yourself, take the prop off. It's not that hard, okay? But in today's day and age, you're gonna have to learn to trust this plane at some point, okay? So I'm gonna do something different. I'll tell you my criteria, okay? So that's strapped down. I'm gonna loosen this Velcro here, and I'm gonna pull this tight, a little bit tight, a little bit hard to get the batteries in on this plane. And it does fit okay, but it's still gonna take a little effort. Okay, if this thing were to go full throttle, I could hold it. It'd be a pain in the butt, I would be annoyed, but I would lose no fingers, okay? So we're gonna plug this in. Full disclosure, there's a cooling fan that starts, so don't stick anything in the cooling fan.
Okay, noted.
Okay, you'll notice it's beeping and no hands have been chopped off. Throttle cuts on, throttle sticks down. I'm not in bind mode. I'm gonna press this button right here. Camera crew, are you up high enough? Can you see?
Maybe.
Why don't you just come over here? Okay. Press and hold this button for a second, and then it starts flashing, okay? Now, my hands are off the controls, okay? That's because I need to press the bind button. So I'm gonna click, I'm gonna scroll down to bind. Timer's about to go off, doesn't matter. I'm gonna hit yes, and I'm gonna hit bind. Now it's gonna say binding, I'm gonna hold the plane. Very good. Now you hear it arming. This is where if all hell would break loose, it would have been breaking loose right about now, okay? So you'll notice that all hell has not broke loose, okay? So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move some controls, make sure things are moving. Things are moving, we have controls working. Throttle cut is currently on. Does it work? It doesn't. You wanna know why? Because there's safety measures checked built in. This is asking me if I wanna load the receiver file. I am not going to, because I don't wanna overwrite all the crap I just did, and I don't really need.
Wait, you put load, not skip. Go back.
Skip. Confirm, okay? So now you'll notice nothing's happened. Throttle cut is still on and throttle is not working. That's what we want. I hit clear so the timer is cleared. I am going to engage the throttle by shutting off the throttle cut. I'm gonna have everything in my hands. A little bit of throttle cuts on and tested, okay? Now we can trust this plane. Now, if you were in any doubt at this point, you could take the additional steps to power cycle. I'm not in any doubt. Okay, so we haven't assigned the flaps. You'll notice the flaps aren't working, and we haven't hooked up mechanically the elevator, so the elevator is not working yet. I'm just gonna turn this prop so that it's in a more conventional position so it doesn't catch if I try to move something, okay? So now what we need to do is we need to figure out if these rods are, or the control, the ends, the ball link ends, are in the right position so that this elevator is neutral. Can you show them that right there? See how that's neutral, guys? That's pretty dang good. So I can just snap that one on. Now, there is a special tool. If you guys don't have a ball link plier, I'll show you what they look like. This is something you can get on the supplies list if you need to. If you're getting them though, get them thinner. If I had 10 minutes, I would go and grind that down and make it thin. It worked better. So if you get them and they're really thin, that's probably better. They're stronger if they're thicker, but they just don't always get into the spot you need. Okay, then you can snap this on. And then it's on, and then the elevator on one side works, and the other side sort of is close, okay? Now this side looks like it's also super close. Now, if this was not right, and it looks like this one's up like maybe half a turn, so we can at least show that, okay? I'm gonna rotate the plane so it's easier to see. Camera crew is going to get her body where she can see. I'm gonna use this pair of tools because I'm lazy. I want this to come down like half a turn, which means that I need that to go in half a turn. So I'm gonna just grab this with this pair of pliers. I'm gonna hold it and then I'm gonna turn this half a turn, okay? That's the smallest resolution you can make in change. Now, look what happens. That's like spot on centered, okay? So now, again, that was a super, super small finite adjustment. And I'm guessing that you guys won't get quite as lucky as I did because that's pretty unusual, okay? Now, the other thing too is there is sometimes a front and a back. I don't think there's a front and a back on these ones. So if it gives you trouble snapping on, sometimes you got to rotate it twice. Yep, it went on. But you see how I over penetrated? You see that? So sometimes when you over penetrate, you got to pull it back like that. Did you see that on camera?
Yeah,
I can't tell if the guys can see.
Yeah.
All right, so if you ever over penetrate, just pull it out a little. Should help things to work better. All right, so let's level the plane again and just look at the elevator. First things first, elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right. So they're all working the correct direction. Now we need to set up the flaps, okay? So now flaps, of course, are the inboard flaps. Right here, they are set into the neutral position right now because we haven't actually called out what position to put them in, and therefore they lock into the center spot, okay? We also haven't tested the gear. Let's do the gear. Gear up, gear now down. We'll look closely at those here in a little bit. Okay, so gear up, I like toward me. That's the way I want it. So I'm gonna click and I'm gonna scroll down to flap system. Where the heck is flap system? There it is. All right, so we're gonna uninhibit it by assigning it to switch B. Now this, you can follow along in the manual if you want. It's right here. It says 100, 0, and minus 100 with a 2-second deployment speed, 15 and 25, okay? So they wanted plus 100 here. You'll notice what's happening as you change it. It's pulling it up. I'm in this position right now, which is forward for me on switch B. There's 100, okay? Then 0, that's our takeoff flaps. And then landing flaps would be negative. Just gonna bring it down all the way. And then I like to look underneath and make sure we're not binding. We're not even close to binding, so not even worth showing. And then this is supposed to be 15% positive. That means that this is going to deploy the flaps down and then the elevator is gonna go down a little bit, okay? Then 25. If in doubt, it's in fast acting, okay? If in doubt, increase that amount from 25 to a lot more, okay? Look what's happening. As I increase it, it's moving further and further, okay? So I can hit clear, bring that back to 0, and then I'll scroll back into the target of 25. Normal speed, nope, we want 2-second deployment speed. And you notice how nice this is and how nice that is. Now, why do we need a correction on the elevator? You might be asking to coincide with the deployment of the flaps. Well, with an inboard flap, okay, I'll walk it out of this menu, throttle cuts on. When you're deploying an inboard flap, the plane is gonna tend to point down, AKA in our case, you want it to point down because you're gonna be going downhill to land, but it's actually gonna balloon because it changes the relative position of the wing, the angle of incidence of the wing, the perception of the angle of incidence, okay, as it flies, because you're gonna shift the shape of the wing, okay? Now, if it's an outboard aileron, then it's out of this flow from the prop and all that. It's even more powerful. And you actually have an opposite effect. I mean, of course, you want to point down, but it's going to point you down and you're going to nosedive a little bit. And so the elevator needs to go the other way to help counter that. Now, why do we want to counter it on a radio controlled airplane? Because when we deploy flaps, the objective is to slow down the plane usually and prepare for landing. Unless you're just like me, you want to slow down and do other things. You can also sharpen the elevator's performance by deploying flaps, and you make your elevator a little bit more touchy. It's almost like shifting the CG, but it doesn't actually shift the CG, okay? So if you shift your CG back, the elevator becomes more aggressive. If you shift your CG so that it's more nose heavy, your elevator gets less aggressive because you're more overstable as you get more nose heavy. As you get more tail heavy, you get more understable because you are just out of control, okay? Completely understable is out of control. Stable is stable. Not stable is understable. Overstable is more stable. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so as you shift this battery, which is the only thing you can adjust without adding dead load. I don't add dead load to any of my models. I never have, except for maybe once or twice. And this was old balsa wood model kits. This is the best way to adjust it. If you have a battery that's at or near the CG, shifting it forward is gonna make a minor adjustment. Shifting it backwards is gonna make a minor adjustment. If you have a nose mounted battery, you're not gonna make much difference by moving the battery, okay? Because it's already in front of the CG. So the manufacturer's already dictated what the CG is going to end up looking like in most cases. So then you change the battery size, you might need to add static load to the tail, okay? Or to the nose, depending on what you're putting in. All right, so that all being understood, when you deploy flaps, the reason that you need this down correction is to help counter the ballooning that's going to happen as soon as you deploy flaps. So given the same circumstances of throttle, wind, airspeed, attitude, all those things, if you're just going flat and level at say 50 miles an hour, you deploy flaps, you're gonna start to climb, just like this, okay? So that downward elevator allows you to slow the plane down. And then you convert that to predominantly drag, okay? Because wings create drag and lift. And when you create a larger shape here, then you actually create more drag and more lift. So you reduce the stall speed of the plane. AKA you can slow down and you will slow down. But you can also add more throttle to counter it so that you can keep and maintain or improve your elevator authority if you need it. Okay, so lots of things can happen with flaps. If you didn't already know anything about that, now you know a little bit. I probably could have articulated that better. I've done it better in the past, but that's fine. Here on Brian Phillips RC, we're imperfect, just like you, okay? All right, let's pull this back. So now the next thing is we've got this little lip we haven't talked about. We weren't sure if that was gonna cause us problems. It looks like it might work. Kind of hard to tell. This lead is huge, so we'll just tuck that in there. Oh, please fit. Oh, you know why it's not going? It's because of the magnet. That is just nuts. Look at this. That is nuts. So you see what's going on there? Even after you press it down, it just centered the battery. So it's gonna help hold and maintain the battery position. Okay, now, do you think we got lucky and the CG's right?
I don't know.
How would you know?
Well, we'll have to measure it.
We're not done with radio setup. Don't freak out just quite yet. We're just gonna do the radio setup all the way in this one video. I'm gonna get a black dot maker, also known as a marker. 115 to 125 millimeters. Yep. That's what that stands for. And that's from the leading edge at the inboard portion of the wing. The inboard most portion of the wing, guys, let's talk about this. Look, you've got a pretty good little curve here, okay? Can you see that? Mm-hmm. Are you looking really close? You see how there's a curve? Where does the wing actually start?
That's a good question.
Exactly. Okay, so look, I'm gonna put in 115 millimeters. Then we can also measure 10 from that point because it's so far back. We might do that this time. So 115.07 millimeters, close enough for my taste. I'm gonna go about here so I can see it and feel it. And what am I doing? I'm drawing a straight line from where the wing meets the fuse at 90 degrees of the fuse, okay? And then I'm going out just a wee bit. Or you can mark it by just laying it flat like this and then check my work. Check my work. Look at it. Go back up high. Go up high. Here, I'll show the people. Okay, guys. Brian Phillips filming. See what I did? I found the center mark, okay? Which is, dang it. Camera crew's gonna try again. I found the center mark where it goes into the fuse, and then you can see where my mark is, okay? So now I'm gonna darken the mark so you guys can see it a little better at home. And you see where that mark is? Looks pretty good, doesn't it? Pretty cool. Now, I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna do the exact same thing. Very simple, very basic. I'm just lining up where the wing starts. I'm gonna come out a ways. Remember, there's a relief here. Just gonna do that, and I'm gonna make a little bit of a dig in, okay? And then I'm gonna go 10 millimeters, so it's plus or minus 5.
Yep.
So whatever my first measurement was, I'm gonna just go to 10. Okay, so we'll just put that in the calipers right like that. Pretty simple stuff. And then we'll take this and we'll make a second detent or bump. Then we'll come over here, we'll make a second detent or bump. Now, that's gonna denote the center of gravity position for the front and the back of the tolerances, okay? So my goal when I start a plane for the first time is to hit roughly the center of gravity range so that I have the best crack at success. Now, if you haven't already connected the dots here on Brian Phillips RC, we fly a lot of airplanes here, but most of the time you're seeing me fly it for the first time. And if you want to find success flying planes for the first time, you can either get really lucky, you can get help, or you can, watch our channel and we can be your help, okay? So you've got those marks. We've already validated the throttle cuts on. We don't have to worry about the transmitter getting bumped because nobody's out here to bump it. That is a long ways back there. I'm on the front hole and it is tail heavy. I'm on the back hole and it is neutral. So we could move the battery forward just a little bit. Spin this around. Watch this, guys. Look how much this stretches. Goodness gracious. Oh, that is hard to get off of there. So now we can move that forward, I said, right?
Yes.
See what happens? You can move it, but just barely. I gotta really push it, okay? So I think I'm gonna just go ahead and go with that's where it's gonna be for our maiden. And what else do I do to help establish a center of gravity? I like to mark where the battery is, front and back with an arrow denoting the direction of the wire. And then I like to write what size I was using for that particular test. So this is a 5,000 milliamp hour, 6S 50C. Now, why do I put the 50C, camera crew?
Well, we have multiple batteries in that size class.
Meaning we have other C rating
ratings.
packs,
Yep.
and so they're going to be proportionally heavier
Could be
or
slightly,
lighter.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So now the other thing too is I just want to point out, if you have a lighter battery, to keep this thing balanced, what are you going to have to do?
Go further forward, probably.
Yep, and what's further forward?
All that stuff.
Go up high and point down.
Receiver.
Look how close it is.
Yeah.
So put a 3200 in there, please. Exactly.
Well, and there's also a little bit of subjectiveness in how people like to fly with their CG, but it can't be totally tail heavy.
Depends on how you fly. I would not fly this plane tail heavy, but I don't want it to be too nose heavy because then you're not going to have enough elevator to land it.
Right.
Okay? Remember, if you ever get in a circumstance where you genuinely don't have enough to land, put your full flaps on, keep throttle in, land it with speed, but then you'll have better elevator authority because of the flaps. The problem is you also have correction that's tied in. Okay? Also, go into high rates if you have them still. Okay? All right, elevators up, elevators down, roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right. Okay, everything's working, take off flaps, now landing flaps, everything's working. Throttle cuts on. We gotta set up reverse thrust. How do we do reverse thrust? Let's go all the way over to the right with the scrolly. Look at this, this isn't gonna work right now because we've been on for too long. You have to do this within so many seconds of initiating the ESC. So I'm gonna do that right now. Throttle cuts on, throttle stick is down. I'm gonna go ahead and open this cavity up. I'm gonna disconnect the battery. Now that I can trust this, remember at some point you're gonna eventually have to trust the plane, okay? I pretty much trust this plane now, but I could still, if I was in any doubt, I could do this, okay? You see how my elbow and forearm is out of the way of the prop, okay? Unplugged, wait a second, plug it in. Get this back in. Once it's done singing and it hasn't started, then you're usually safe, okay? You've got a wing just in case things go crazy. Okay, very good. Now, to go into this, I'm gonna go up elevator, left aileron. 2, 3, 4, 5. Right aileron, 3, 4, 5. Okay, very good. So fixed wing, brake type disabled. Nope, we're gonna turn it on to braking reverse. Okay, brake force, I don't know, probably 2. It's pretty powerful. I'm sure you could put more on there. Actually, yeah, timing, you can change all this crap, which is pretty cool. You'll notice I'm using the down and the left right, so it's basically elevator goes up and down. Thrust reverse channel 7, isn't that what we said?
It is.
Sweet, we got lucky. Just so you can see, you can change it by going left and right. It goes from channel 5 to channel 9. We were already on channel 7. Exit was safe, okay? Now it's rebooting. This is where if something was gonna go crazy, it would go crazy now, so we're gonna listen. Okay, so we're good. Nothing went crazy. So in order to test and set up the rest of the thrust reverse stuff, also make sure you get this lip tucked in. Okay, we had to re-secure the battery. Oh, we never did validate our thrust, or excuse me, our center of gravity. But we'll do that here in a minute. Okay, throttle cuts on. We can scroll back over. Let's go to monitor. Is G changing anything? Yes, it is. It's going from plus 100 to 0 to minus 100. That's not gonna work, but I'll tell you right now, we're gonna need minus 100 on my forward switch. Plus 100 and plus 100 for reverse thrust and reverse thrust, okay? So this will be reverse thrust, but only if you've initiated throttle. So I'm gonna go ahead and hold the tail. You need to see what's going on here, camera crew. Throttle cuts off. That's reverse thrust. Now reverse goes to forward, okay? Throttle cuts back on. So just to confirm my theory, throttle sticks down. Now we can go to digital switch setup. The easiest way to do this is digital switch setup. It's also the most safe, and I'll show you why. So switch G, we want the front position to be minus 100, which is counterintuitive, but minus 100 on these Avian ESCs and actually other branded ESCs we found seems to be where forward thrust is called out. Why do they use minus 100 as forward thrust instead of plus 100 is totally beyond me. Okay, now the first position for reverse thrust is gonna be position 1, the middle, okay? And then the second position for for reverse thrust is gonna also be all the way back. So now I don't have that weird floating point in the center. When you run controls on machines, you don't wanna give a machine the chance to guess. That's reverse thrust, that's forward thrust. Throttle cut is still on, we're gonna walk out of the menu, okay? If in doubt, go over to the monitor mode. Hate that it goes to monitor 2 first, and then you gotta scroll back to monitor 1. That's really annoying, especially when you're in flight, okay? I'm gonna hold this plane. Gotta get way up here. Throttle cut is off. We're gonna give a little bit of forward thrust, and then just so you can see, reverse thrust and reverse thrust. Throttle cuts on, forward thrust. Okay, so we've got forward thrust, we got reverse thrust. Why do we need reverse thrust? We can slow down in a hurry on landings. Very good. Okay, now what else do we need to do? Forward programming, very good. Let's jump in, turn on advanced menus, gyro settings, AS3X settings, AS3X gains, priority, stop lock release rate. We're not worried about any of those, let's do gains. You notice it's not changing when I flip my switch, so you can see what mode, flight mode 2 would be, so 30, 20, and 31. But we need to set this up. So safe select, we gotta actually tell it where safe is activated. Well, that's gonna be activated on the same switch. So safe select channel, let's activate it. It didn't do it when we exercised the switch. Why? Because we have to actually scroll it in, okay? What did we do? We never set that up, did we?
No, we just assigned.
Okay, so let's walk back out. Let's go back down to channel select, system setup, disconnect RF. That is where you'd also have throttle issues if you had it set up wrong, but we don't. Channel assign. Okay, gear is fine. G is fine. Let's do channel 8 on switch D. Or you can click and scroll to the left and go 1 over to the right and it's flight mode. Okay, so that's on channel 8 or aux 8 rather, which is channel 8. Should be like aux 2 in the old vernacular. Okay, so going back into forward programming, sorry, I forgot that, guys. Gyro settings, safe select. Oh, look at that, channel 8. It already picked it for us. Very nice. See how it's changing? Very good. So let's turn safe select on, meaning it is on the receiver, but it's not necessarily activated, okay? Now it says safe is currently on as it pertains to this switch condition. Ooh, looks like that is AS3X is on. I'm gonna turn that off. And then safe mode. Okay, so we've gotta flip them, right? Okay, so how do we do that? So let's walk out of system setup. Let's jump into servo setup and travel reverse aux 8. Now, Brian, you just had us do digital switch setup for switch G for reverse thrust. That's because you're plus 100 for reverse thrust twice and you're minus 100 for forward thrust. okay? So we want to reverse all 3 points on this, and the middle is already correct. So we're comfortable with the middle being the middle. All right, so we'll jump back into forward programming, gyro settings, AS3X settings. Watch this, guys. AS3X gains. Oh, look, flight mode 1, flight mode 2, flight mode 3. See, 30, 20, 21. And it says off, okay? So we have to set up the off. So that happened. It just connection failed. Go back in, not a big deal. Gyro settings, let's go back to safe select. Okay, so it looks like that's AS3X only, safe is off. AS3X and safe is off. And then safe is on. Pretty cool. And this is where you can see if you were in AS3X, then you could change your settings if you wanted to. You can also change the priority if you wanted to. And you can change the stop lock and release rates if you wanted to. But then it'll go off for mode 2. Okay, pretty simple. Now, if you were doing a plug-in fly, you would have access to all of the 3 modes all the time, which is kind of weird that on bind and fly they take that feature away. I'm not sure why they do that. Okay, so then we can go to other settings, just show you how you would do it if you needed to. Factory resets down here, which is really nice. Okay. Clear the timer, throttle cuts on. Okay, let's go through the process of checking all the surfaces. All right, so first things first, let's make sure all the surfaces still work. Elevator goes up, elevator goes down. You have to look at both sides because we have a ball link on both sides. Does it return neutral? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Very good. Rudder left, rudder right. Yep, definitely working. This is also the steerable tail wheel. Of course, it's the same physical thing, so it's going to be tied together no matter what you do. Roll left, roll right. Okay, so roll left goes up, roll right goes up. Very good. So roll left, that brings this down. That brings that up. That would be to the left. That's good. That would go that way. Very good. All right, so take off flaps. Now landing flaps. Very good. Throttle cuts on. Let's see what safe looks like. Sticks down and out. That's AS3X. That's off, and that's safe. You'll notice it resists a little bit. Okay. Also, throttle cuts on and tested. As I flip the plane on its belly, or upside down rather, it's gonna try to find the quickest route to level. And it's also tying in the rudder, you'll notice, okay? Now, look at the elevator. The elevator is gonna try to come out of this dive desperately until it gets to there-ish. Now, if you're in a climb, if you let go of the sticks, it's gonna come out of the climb and then get it to here. So what that's gonna do is when you let go of the sticks, this plane is going to mysteriously get itself to a level flying attitude. Now let's see if stabilization is working. Stabilization is a little bit harder to test because it's not quite so obvious. I'm gonna go back to AS3X, throttle cuts on. Is it gonna work? Yes, because we evidently did give throttle when we were setting up our stuff. This one's not enough movement to see with the camera crew holding it. So look at the rudder. As I roll to my left, it's gonna move, or not roll, but yaw. See, it's resisting the impact. There's the transmitter. Just you can see, I'm not doing anything with it. Now look at the elevator. When I go up and down, it's gonna resist up. It's gonna resist down. Now, look at the ailerons. As I go up, it's gonna resist up. As I go down, it's gonna resist down. It's gonna resist up, it's gonna resist down. But it's gonna restore itself back to a neutral position, provided you're off the sticks. Now keep in mind, you have a certain level of priority over the software. That's what that priority has to do with in AS3X, okay? So if my sticks are down like this, and I'm at the max, then I am going to basically be overriding AS3X, okay? As it pertains to that direction of change, okay? Because it's anticipating, it's like, oh, hey, he's telling me to go up and to the right, so I'm gonna do that thing, okay? But if I'm not giving an impact and the wind is like, go up and go right, it's gonna be like, no, I'm ignoring you because he didn't tell me to do it. That's priority, okay? Hopefully that helps. That's very basic. Stop lock is confusing. Most of us aren't gonna play with stop lock. Stop lock release has to do with when you're coming out of an extreme maneuver, how fast it delatches it can get itself into oscillations and stuff. Anyway, I don't even want to go into it because I don't understand it enough to explain it in a way that's going to work. And I've never messed with it since it's been available. Okay, there are people that do, and good on you for doing it. I seem to have pretty good luck without, so I'm just gonna go without. That being said, we have set up forward thrust, which is pretty obvious. It comes out of the box that way. We've set up reverse thrust. We've set up all the controls to make sure they're going in the right direction, which is pretty easy because they were already set up for us. We've made sure the gear work. We're gonna look at those here. We've made sure that all of the axis of stabilization are correct. We've also made sure that the prop spins the right direction and blows air or sucks air, still blowing air, just the other way around, I guess. And what are we gonna verify now? We're gonna verify that these are pretty hard tires. They're also a very tall profile. And these are spring loaded with the spring actually wrapping around this cover. That cover is really robust. A little bit nervous. This isn't gonna be enough to keep people from having trouble, but people had some trouble with the landing gear bending on them and breaking out on the V1200 V1. The rule of thumb is never have a bad landing and you'll be fine. Just not like me.
Just do that.
But we'll see. That being said, they look clean. Obviously this plane is fast. You do not want landing gear down. It would not do near the speed. Also, when you go to take off, remember AS3X Plus is gonna be way more it's gonna be better at keeping this thing under control. So it might make it a skill level 2 from a skill level 3. But if you're doing plug and fly and you're trying to fly this without the aid of AS3X and or safe, then it's gonna definitely be firmly into the 3s, I think. This plane is fast, it's exciting, and it's loud. So if you want loud, if you want fast, and you want exciting, the V1200 is the thing, okay? And if you want long and tedious, you're in the right place. Here on Brian Phillips RC, we'll take the simple and make it complex so that you don't have to. At the end of the day, everybody needs help when they're brand new in this hobby. Hopefully you're not brand new in this plane, but the truth is everybody starts somewhere, and we're gonna try to help get you out of the chair and into the air by telling the full truth, nothing but the truth, so help us God. We say that because a lot of the other competitors on YouTube will expand on a marketing message to the extent that you're just hearing the messaging from the factory. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. But what we do here is we kind of ignore most of that and we just show you what we had for our experience. And that being said, we had a relatively good experience with the V1200. I did bend my landing gear. It just bent them right back, put them back in the pockets and everything was fine. So if you do have good landings, you won't have problems with that. This is a really pretty plane. It's very fast. It's very intense. And if you like this plane, but you're a little bit off-put by the amount of power, or maybe you don't do 6S batteries yet, the V900 is another great option. It's orange in color. It's quite a bit smaller. It's a 900 millimeter wingspan as opposed to 1200. Okay, so V1200, V900, smaller. And it's got fixed, no landing gear. It's just a belly lander. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't want the sophistication of the retracts, or you think it's just gonna add complexity where complexity is not needed, then you can have a really good experience with that plane. Okay, so I'm just telling you right now, if this is too much for you and you wanna try something that's a little bit less financial investment, try the V900, it's a great option. And to be honest with you, I think it's very palatable to the type of person that loves this type of flying because you don't need no stinking runway. Well, for us, we have 2 of them. We're gonna have 3 eventually. But right now we've just got the one that's 300 feet long and we have the aid of a 25 mile an hour headwind, okay? It's gonna make it look slower, but it's gonna make it land a little bit slower too, which is good. And with the aid of thrust reverse, which we did have on the first one, we should be able to get this thing slowed down without too much trouble. So that being said, if you're flying from tight ops and you need thrust reverse, we showed you how to do that. At the end of the day, we want you to know how to use and unlock the full potential of these aircraft, or at least get a starting point where you can start to really unlock the full potential. So we hope we hit on all the high notes here on Brian Phillips RC. This is a pretty basic, easy build. It went together super smooth. It's a lot shorter than the last ones we've done. And so if you guys enjoyed the video, smash the like button. If you learned something, smash the like button. If you hated the video and you just hate our guts, definitely smash the like button. And click the bell for notifications when you subscribe because it will help us and we appreciate that. That being said, if you have something bad to say, definitely leave it in the comments. And also send us a super thanks. We appreciate that. If you want to support us in other ways financially, we have YouTube members. Thanks for being members. We have a few hundred members now, right?
Yeah, between YouTube and Patreon.
Patreon. So the other thing is Patreon. Of course, Patreon. Patreon's a little bit cheaper for us if you care, if it matters to you and your decision to support us. The fee structure is less on Patreon than it is on YouTube. They keep it like 30% at YouTube. They keep it like 17 or 18% at Patreon. And if you don't like fees for anybody, then you can go to PayPal, and that's fine too. Just friends and family, we have a link to that too. So we understand, like that's the way we are. We want to make sure our money's spreading as far as possible. We're really careful with it. And that's how we can afford to do crazy things after 25 years of being cheapskates.
Yes.
And the next 25 years or 30 years
still
of being
being
cheapskates. So we can afford to pay off some of it. Anyway, guys, we're building an aerodrome if you didn't know that. That's what that building is she was just showing you. That's a hangar for a full scale as well as storage for our airplanes. We have a lot of them, okay? Hundreds.
A few.
And that means that there's videos for you to watch right now for all of them. Some of them have more content, some of them have less because we have been in the midst of this construction phase for a while. We're trying to get through it so we can have our 600 foot by 12 runway to go opposite the now 300 foot by 11 at the narrowest and about 15 on the widest point.
Yep.
That's our main runway, in case you're wondering. So we're really excited to unveil that, but unfortunately we're gonna run ourselves out of money this year on that. And so we'll have to, well, not our money, the bank's money. And then we'll have to wait for another year when we can figure out how to do that. So hopefully that comes sooner than later, but we can't wait to share it. It's gonna be so much fun. But sometimes when you look back at life and you think, man, that was awesome, spending 5 years doing that really difficult task that cost us way too much money. Yeah, I don't know.
What are we thinking? What are we thinking?
I was just thinking it might be good.
Hopefully.
So we're really excited to see it done just like you.
Yes.
And if you guys are curious, definitely click the bell, subscribe. There's so much more content right around the corner. We literally have like 4 or 5 ready to go right now. And we're getting into spring 2026. Let's hope that there's a little bit less volatility in the world. So I'm not holding my breath on that one. But at the same time, maybe we'll get the tariffs worked out at least. But at the end of the day, we love this hobby. We want to see it succeed. We want to help you succeed at the hobby because it is easier said than done. And we want you to have success. Okay, guys? So when we tell you, don't buy this plane if you're brand new, we're not trying to talk down to you. We're not trying to talk you out of it. We're trying to talk you into it the right way. And you'll understand what we're saying after you have a chance to test it with fire. Okay? And when I say test it with fire, I mean get the wrong thing, crash it. Don't quit. Don't quit. Just do it right the second time, okay? We'll help you. There's a million ways to skin this cat, but I don't understand why we skin cats all the time. It's weird. There's a lot of good choices. Beginner planes. BrianPhillipsRC.com/beginner planes. We have narrowed it down to just a handful. There's more than that.
Yeah.
But that's just the easy ones for us. If you think of something and you want to kind of bounce it off us, leave it in the comments. We'll do our best to get back to you. And we'll try to help you guys make good decisions. But the best way you can do it is self-soothe. Go to bprc.me, find the plane you think you want, and then watch our video. We will answer the questions for you as much as we can. Keep it in mind that I've flown for about 11 years, and I do fly a lot. I've invested a lot to do what we do, and I live this life. It is a lifestyle, okay? When you start, you may be able to get your wife to believe that it's not a lifestyle for a while. She will eventually catch on. So
Yep.
my suggestion is get your wife hooked as well, if you're lucky enough to be able to do that. All right, questions, leave in the comments below. Good job, E-flite. Looks like another fun, really fast plane. Can't wait to get it in the air. Hope we have success with it. By the way, if you guys have additional questions, leave them down below. We'll do our best to answer them. And like I said, when you're ready to make a purchase decision, buy it from the links in the video description below. Keep in mind, if you're buying this plane, follow the links, buy the plane. If you're buying a prop for this plane, follow the link. It will get you the same place. Then we're commissioned on the sales that happen. It's like we got you in the store. And then if you do that, then that supports us financially. And if it weren't already immediately obvious, 100% of the proceeds have been turned around and spent. Did I say 100%?
Well, I mean, you can't really.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000% of the proceeds have been spread. So guys, if you don't know anything about building big stuff, you're in the right place. We'll try to drag you through with us. Oh, by the way, if you're going to Joan Hall, so far so good. We're still planning on being there for 2026, and we're excited. It's really fun to go to Joan Hall. My wife likes going, which is weird because I'm the one that loves aviation. She just tolerates it because of me. But we love seeing you guys there. It's really fun. It brightens our spirit. We love connecting with our audience of like-minded, crazy people. And if you go and live and fly planes for 20 hours a day with us, you can do it in beautiful South Carolina, which is pretty neat at Triple Tree. So hopefully we'll see you there. If you want to see us there, don't miss us. We don't go for the whole time. We can't afford to be out for 12 days or whatever it would take for us to do it. We fly in an airplane. We get in an airplane, we fly because we're going, otherwise it'd be like a 16-hour drive for us. So if you guys see us there and you want us to fly your plane, that is something that people always graciously let us do, which is really fun. And it's an honor for me to be able to work with you guys on an immediate basis, which is really fun. So
we are typically there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of the second week.
The second week.
Yep.
So like the end of the program.
Yep.
Okay. And it's really fun and we really enjoy seeing you guys. So also if you're ever in the area, you want to try to connect, email us and we will try our best. Okay. We're slow to reply. Just know that. All right. V1200 E-flite. Check it out. Links in the video description below. Come back for more. Thanks for watching.